Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. They arrested her without knowing she was an elite Marine. In a small town on the outskirts of Richmond, in Virginia, the morning routine was in full swing. The discreet honking of cars accompanied the drone of air conditioners already running at full blast. The metal shutters of shops opened with a familiar creak, revealing the windows of small bakeries, hair salons, and laundromats, still empty. Passers-by, absorbed in their phones or their thoughts, passed each other without greeting, swallowed up by the mechanical bustle of everyday life. It was an ordinary Wednesday, without any sparkle or apparent drama. The neighborhood police officers moved slowly, windows ajar, sipping hot coffee, eyes half open. For them, as for so many others, it was just another quiet morning in Fairfax Heights, a peaceful residential area with a reputation for being uneventful, or almost. But for Serena Dawson, this day would become unforgettable, for reasons no military training could have anticipated. Serena had just gotten off a bus from the military base in Quantico, after a 2-hour journey. She was wearing a pearl gray hoodie, and cargo pants legs, and slightly damaged black sneakers, discreet, comfortable. Nothing particularly caught the eye. A brown canvas bag hung from his shoulder, plain, with no visible branding. She crossed the nearly empty parking lot of a gas station, her calm footsteps echoing faintly on the warm morning asphalt. The sun was rising slowly, casting a golden light on the windshields of parked cars. A light breeze made the plastic flags hanging above the pumps dance. Serena entered the store, nodded politely to the cashier, and headed to the back. She picked up a bottle of iced water and a few energy bars. Her movements were mechanical, precise, almost military. Every movement seemed deliberate, silent, and minimal. Behind his dark sunglasses her eyes gently scanned the surroundings, as if she were constantly assessing exits, behaviors, angles. It wasn't paranoia. It was a habit. The kind you develop when you've been trained to survive, to protect, to react to the unpredictable. To passers-by, she seemed ordinary. Perhaps tired. Perhaps just a lonely woman in her 30s, discreet, even self-effacing. No one would have guessed what lay beneath that modest exterior. No one saw the faint scars on her left arm, silent reminders of classified operations conducted halfway around the world. No one knew she had served in the most hostile areas of Afghanistan and the Sahel, protected only by her sniper rifle, her discipline, and her unshakable composure. Staff Sergeant Serena Dawson, assigned for several years to the Special Intervention Unit Viper Phantom, was one of the Marine Corps' most respected snipers. Able to hit a target at over 1,400 meters in extreme conditions, she saved dozens of lives by silently neutralizing threats before they were even visible to the naked eye. Decorated 3 times for her courage, cited by her superiors for her inhuman precision, she nevertheless wore that day the simplicity of a woman who just wanted to breathe. She had just completed an intense training mission at Quantico, where she was now instructing the new elite recruits. She wasn't there to be seen, nor to impress. She had come to town for one thing: take a break, join a friend, a brother-in-arms returning from the Special Forces, and spend a few days in the countryside, far from the gunfire, far from the protocols, far from the weight of rank and the gaze of the hierarchy. But as she waited calmly on the sidewalk next to her friend's black vehicle parked in front of the store, things began to take a strange turn. It was at that precise moment that the morning silence was broken by the dull roar of an engine. A gleaming black and white police vehicle screeched to a halt beside her. The tires squealed lightly on the hot asphalt. The headlights came on, casting a cold light that cut through the golden softness of the rising sun. 2 young officers quickly got out, looking tense, almost nervous. The driver, a man of about 28, blond with light eyes, wore an impeccable uniform but exuded an almost arrogant confidence. It was Brian Matthews, an agent fresh out of the academy, who had already built a reputation as a confident, sometimes a little impulsive, man. He walked toward Serena, his right hand already resting on the butt of his holstered service weapon. His gaze swept the scene suspiciously, settling on the seemingly lonely black woman standing motionless beside a parked black luxury car. His voice was firm, almost authoritative. She knew exactly what that meant. In their eyes, she wasn't the decorated soldier, the expert who could neutralize a threat from 1,000 meters away. She was just a suspicious, black woman, a stranger in their world, an unwanted shadow, standing by a luxury car, and, in their closed minds, she was lying. They had already decided, without proof, that she was guilty. This simple control had become a humiliation. "Madam, what are you doing here, near that vehicle?" Serena answered calmly, without losing her composure, her voice poised like a declaration of truth. "I'm waiting for someone. I'm coming from the military base." The officer narrowed his eyes, as if this answer did not match the image he had formed in his mind. "Do you have any papers?" Without hesitation, Serena pulled a stiff, laminated, official-looking card from her inside pocket. She held it out confidently. The card proudly bore the seal of the United States Marine Corps, with its rank clearly visible. Staff Sergeant. A small electronic chip flickered in the corner, indicating secure access. But Matthews frowned, his expression hardening, as if reality couldn't coexist with what was before his eyes. He turned the card over and examined it quickly, but his face betrayed his incomprehension, or perhaps his refusal to believe that this woman standing before him could truly be a soldier. "You're impersonating a military man, right? That's a federal crime." His voice rose, sharp and accusing. As if he were issuing her a challenge, a provocation to which she must respond. Serena, unperturbed, replied with the same clarity. "No. Just check my name in the database. I am who I say I am." But Matthews, instead of checking, seemed to take this as insubordination. He paused, his gaze hardening even further. Then he hissed through his teeth. "Put your hands behind your back." Immediately. The tone admitted no discussion. Serena felt the atmosphere close in around her like a vice. She obeyed, slowly placing her hands behind her back. Her heart wasn't beating faster, but a dull anger was rising within her, an inner fire fueled by injustice. Serena was roughly slammed against the smooth, cold hood of a black sedan. The metal clanged dully under the pressure of her shoulders. The handcuffs clicked shut around her wrists, trapping her hands behind her back. Around them, the murmur of a growing crowd began to rise. Several passers-by had stopped, drawn by the scene. Some, shocked, took out their cell phones to film. The contrast was striking, a black woman, calm but visibly humiliated, handcuffed in the middle of the street, under the authoritarian and arrogant gaze of the officers. The image was violent, heartbreaking, almost unreal. No one understood what was really going on. No one knew that she was a decorated sniper, a silent protector of the nation. Without any verification, Serena was shoved into the patrol car. Not a single call had been made to confirm her identity or what she had said. Not an ounce of consideration. Her military badge was confiscated, treated like a worthless piece of plastic. She was taken to the police station, a building with gray walls and the unpleasant smell of cold coffee and old paper. The atmosphere was oppressive, stifling. In a dimly lit interrogation room, with a single camera trained on her, Serena remained locked up for over an hour. No one offered her a lawyer, no one tried to understand her version of events. She was there, alone, reduced to a simple black suspect in a sweatshirt, far from medals and recognition. Yet, thousands of miles away, at the Quantico base, an ominous void was felt. Serena, who was due to attend a crucial strategic briefing, was nowhere to be found. The Colonel Amanda Green, a tough and respected woman, immediately noticed her absence. She tried to reach her several times on her phone, without success. Worried, she asked her team to launch an urgent search of the databases. The shock was immediate. Serena's ID card had been registered at a local police station, the one in Fairfax Heights. Without wasting a second, the colonel alerted his direct superior, the General Jonathan Callahan, one of the few active four-star generals in the Marines, a man known for his sense of justice and responsiveness. Callahan, sitting in his office, its walls lined with decorations and war memorabilia, frowned at the news. He could not tolerate a soldier of this caliber being treated like this. In an instant, he jumped into his official vehicle, accompanied by 2 senior officers, ready to intervene. The convoy took off at full speed, sirens silent, crossing the Virginia countryside, heading for the police station. An hour later, the glass doors of the police station Fairfax Heights opened suddenly, violently, slamming against the walls as if in a gust of wind. The light from outside flooded the hall, contrasting with the dull, aging atmosphere inside. An immediate silence fell over the room, breaking the chatter and the clatter of keyboards. General Jonathan Callahan had just entered. His imposing figure, as straight as an oak, filled the space. He wore the midnight blue Marine uniform, adorned with 4 shining stars on his shoulders, his medals aligned with military precision. His hard face, tense jaw, and steely gaze left no room for ambiguity. He was not here to argue. The police officers present instinctively stood up, surprised and nervous. Some immediately lowered their eyes. Others exchanged worried glances, wondering what unforgivable mistake had been made to cause a 4-star general to move in person at a local police station. Officer Brian Matthews, pale as a sheet, sat up awkwardly behind his desk. His breath was short, his hands were almost shaking. "General, what are you doing here?" he asked in a strangled voice. Callahan didn't answer right away. He walked forward with slow, calculated, military steps, his boots clicking on the tiled floor. When he reached the main counter, he put loudly his 2 hands on the worn wood, startling a young officer sitting behind him. His voice, low but sharp as a razor blade, cut through the air. "I'm here to pick up the Staff Sergeant Serena Dawson. You know, the highly decorated sniper you arrested like a common criminal, when she had just left the mission." A deathly silence fell over the room. No one dared to move. The name echoed through the room like a harsh reminder. For the first time, some officers understood the extent of the error made. The general straightened slowly, then looked Matthews straight in the eye. It was a look no training could sustain without wavering. "I want his badge, his gun, and an official letter of apology, immediately." He paused briefly, then added in an even harsher voice. "And you, Officer Matthews, are suspended with immediate effect. You have just committed a professional, moral, strategic, and deeply shameful error." Matthews took a step back, as if struck in the face. The other agents were now avoiding eye contact with the general, frozen in place by the intensity of the moment. At this moment, the door to the interrogation room opened. Serena appeared, flanked by an agent who, seeing the scene, froze in place. The light from the corridor drew an almost unreal silhouette around her, standing, straight, calm, despite the hours of humiliation. She said nothing. She didn't need to, his mere presence commanded respect. Callahan stepped toward her. His features relaxed slightly, but his voice remained deep and dignified. "Staff Sergeant Dawson," he said, personally handing him back his military badge, which he had demanded be handed to him before entering. "On behalf of the United States Marine Corps and Armed Forces, I apologize. What you have suffered here is unacceptable. You deserve the absolute respect of this nation, and you will have it." Serena, her eyes fixed on her superiors, nodded slowly. She spoke only one sentence. "Thank you, General. I've earned that respect. I'll never ask for it." The matter could have remained confined within the police station walls, buried under an internal report, classified as a regrettable misunderstanding. But that was without counting Onan, adolescent, witness to the scene at the gas station. From his scooter, he filmed the entire episode of the arrest, from the moment Serena handed over her military ID to the handcuffs. The video, posted a few hours later on TikTok, then on X, formerly Twitter, exploded instantly. There was a striking contrast: a calm and polite woman, faced with aggressive officers, refusing to check her identity, treating her like a delinquent. The viral montage added the following superimposed titles: "She saved lives. They humiliated her. Staff Sergeant Dawson, from war zones to daily contempt." A few hours later, the video of Serena Dawson's brutal arrest had taken over social media. First shared by a teenager at the gas station, it was picked up by thousands, then millions, of internet users. The images were chilling: a black woman violently slammed against a hood, handcuffed, while she calmly tried to say the words, "I'm in the military. Call Quantico." The scandal exploded when a former soldier, recognizing Serena, posted a message that went viral. "This woman saved my life in Afghanistan. And this is how they treat her here." In the hours that followed, the major national networks interrupted their programming to broadcast a special report. Serena's face appeared on the screen, accompanied by her decorations: Medal of Merit, Silver Star, Medal for Gallantry in Foreign Operations. The images showed her in uniform, on a mission, in a shooting range, surrounded by recruits whom she rigorously trained. She risked her life to defend this country. And she was arrested because she's black. Headlined an editorial in the New York Herald. Veterans, politicians, artists, and former officers spoke out publicly. The hashtag Justice for Serena climbed to the top of global trends. The debate quickly went beyond the arrest to become a national denunciation of the discrimination suffered by minority service members. Faced with media pressure, the police chief held a press conference. Visibly tense, he read a prepared statement. "We acknowledge a serious error. An internal investigation has been launched. We apologize to Staff Sergeant Serena Dawson, her family, and all those who were injured by this incident." But the apologies were not enough. Officer Matthews was suspended without pay and then quickly relieved of his duties for gross misconduct and discriminatory behavior. Protests took place outside the police station, and rallies were held in support of Serena in several major cities. She, however, refused any financial compensation. During her interview on the channel NBC, in a special primetime broadcast, she declared, calm, dignified, her gaze fixed on the camera, "I don't need money. I need the young black girls watching me to know that they can be snipers. That they can aim high. That they belong. And that no one should judge them on their appearance." That evening, millions of young girls saw in her an inspirational figure. But Serena didn't stop there. A few months later, she founded Scope Forward, a national organization dedicated to training and mentoring young minority women in their path to advanced military careers, marksmanship, strategy, and leadership. The program's motto, simple and powerful: "Precision begins with vision." The program quickly gained support from prestigious partners, former officers, veterans associations, and military universities. Serena gave lectures at underprivileged high schools, visited academies, and spoke to young women uncertain about their futures. She spoke frankly about racism, perseverance, and the high standards she imposed on herself. Everywhere, she wore her uniform with pride. Not as a reminder of her rank, but to visibly embody the success that is possible, even when you come from far away, even when everything seems against you. And when, a year later, she was invited to give a speech at West Point, before an entire class of cadets in training, she simply said, "Don't fight to be tolerated. Fight to be respected. And always aim right." The silence that followed was complete. Then, a standing ovation. Serena Dawson was no longer just a sniper. She had become an icon. 1 year later, the Pentagon, Washington, D.C. The Pentagon's Grand Ceremonial Hall was packed. Officers of all ranks, veterans, government officials, journalists, and especially young recruits watched the scene with palpable awe. Flags fluttered slowly above the official podium, while loudspeakers announced, "Please rise to honor Staff Sergeant Serena Dawson." A solemn hush fell over the audience. Then, with a calm, confident step, Serena Dawson took the stage. She wore her dress uniform, adorned with her many decorations, medals of valor, special mission awards, and most importantly, the distinctive Marine Corps sniper badge, a symbol of her precision, composure, and unwavering loyalty. At her side, General Callahan, 4 stars on his shoulder, his face grave but proud, held a small black box in his hands. He handed it to Serena, then addressed the assembled audience standing. "Today, we are honored to add a new chapter to this nation's history. What you see before you is not just an elite soldier. She is a force of character, a voice that refuses to be silenced, a living example that merit does not ask for permission to shine. He paused, looking around the room. He continued, his tone more solemn. A year ago, this woman was humiliated on our own soil. Out of ignorance. Out of prejudice. Out of arrogance. But that day, those who sought to belittle her achieved only one thing, revealing her greatness to the entire world. He turned to Serena, his eyes shining with suppressed emotion. Master Sergeant Serena Dawson, for your exceptional service, for your exemplary bravery, and for your continued commitment to uplifting others, I am proud, on behalf of the United States Department of Defense, to present you with the Legion of Merit. He pinned the decoration on his uniform himself. A suspended, almost sacred silence preceded the explosion of a standing ovation. Some in the room had tears in their eyes. Others, young recruits or veterans, saluted with their fists over their hearts. But Serena, upright and proud, did not waver. She looked up at the audience and said simply, "Thank you. I dedicate this medal to all the young girls who are told they're too this or not that enough. Too black. Too different. Too ambitious. Know that you belong here. And that no one can take it away from you." In the room, the audience was overcome with emotion. That day, Serena was celebrated not only as an exceptional soldier. She was recognized as a figure of struggle, dignity, and hope. A black woman standing at the center of the nation's highest military institution, acclaimed not in spite of her background, but because of him. And in that suspended moment in history, one truth resonated everywhere, from the walls of the Pentagon to televisions across the country. They had wanted to humiliate him. She has become a symbol.